I was an agent coming to you and saying, "Hey, what do you think about it? What do you think about teams? And should I join one? I'm new, or I've been in the business a while, but I want to go work on a team because I've heard they have leads, or I've heard they have CRMs, or they got websites, they got stuff, right?
Yep.
So, like, what do you think about that as a broker, agent who's been in the industry for a very long time?
I wouldn't even hesitate. That'd be a resounding yes. Yes.
So
Absolutely.
join the team.
Absolutely join a team. Especially with that brand new agent, especially with them. And if they're licensed for a while and they're stuck, or they're just not producing the amount of business, they're having trouble really getting a solid SOI. They're having trouble connecting with communities to get leads. They're struggling to understand how to generate leads online, all kinds of ways to get them. But that is 50% of the reason to join a team.
Okay, so
That is,
50%.
yep.
What's the other 50%?
You need accountability. You need support. You need tools handed to you and shown to you. And that's where my resounding yes goes to, but you've got to vet the teams that you have to choose from. There's thousands, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of teams out there. They're awesome. Some of them suck. But here's the thing with teams. There's not that many that suck because of the fact that it's almost impossible to maintain and make a sucky team function. Eventually they're going to flop,
Okay.
or they're going to stay very stagnant with the 4 team members they've had for the last 4 years. That's
Okay.
because they're just them and they work as a unit. And that doesn't even mean they suck, but they're necessarily probably not one you want to join. You want to look for a team that's got some revolving, some people that have stayed a long time, but people stay with a team for a while sometimes and then they leave to go out on their own, and that's okay. But you want to look for some long timers, some new ones as far as agents in that team. Sit down with that team leader, and if you don't know the questions to ask that team leader, you need to talk to somebody like me who does, or a friend in the business, or a coach, or your office manager, or your managing broker, or somebody who you have faith in that knows the questions to answer. And then you go to that team leader and you interview them. They want you, just like a brokerage. They
So
they
what are some questions that, like, so you said, come talk to me,
yeah,
and we want people to be able to use
yeah,
this video.
yep.
So, like, what are some questions they should be asking a team lead, or in an interview? Because it should be an interview that goes both ways, right? One, they're interviewing you and you're interviewing them.
Yes, but you should be the dominant.
Got
Not
it.
You should definitely be the dominant, because you're the one who's choosing. They're not gonna, I mean, they could reject you, but most of them won't, unless there's just completely something there that doesn't work dynamically.
It's not a fit. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
possible too. We have
for
different
sure.
personalities. And usually
Yeah.
during that conversation, you're going to figure that out. It's like, I do not want to work for this guy. That's okay. There's plenty out there.
Yeah.
First and foremost, how long have you run this team?
Okay. So question number one, how long have you run this team?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Has it always been with this brokerage? Have you always been the team lead? Did you take it over for somebody? Did you generate it yourself, or organically? So that'll give the team lead that you're interviewing a chance to talk about the team and himself and how he created. And in that conversation, you'll kind of get an idea for his personality and get them a chance to talk, because they love talk. We all love talking about ourselves and what we create. So that one's a bit of a conversation. Then it's like, then your next question has got to be, you need to tell them, I need leads. My expectation is leads. Tell them right off the bat. I really need to know how you get your leads and how you provide your leads to the team members. They got to tell you.
So like, they're buying leads or they're driving, traffic to a landing page, something like that.
Right. Maybe they're buying leads off of a large website.
Okay.
And that may be a reason for you to run the other direction, and it may not be.
Yeah.
But
It can be tough.
it is. I mean, that's a very like, so if that's what they're doing and there's nothing wrong with that, you have to be of the mindset that the second you get that lead, not 5 minutes, second you get that lead, you got to reach out, like boom, boom, boom. And it takes like really immediate results and a lot of follow-up. Any lead takes follow-up. Another type of lead generator is somebody who has, well, I'll use an example of someone I know, has a radio show and has a huge audience
Yeah.
and gets leads from the radio show that he passes through to the agents. And his expectation is that you're going to take darn good care of my people.
And be on them real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's definitely stuff that I've heard, in where I sit from iFoundAgent, where, generated leads, mostly, if they're cold leads, you're going to talk to 100 people and maybe get 5 who are interested in talking to you.
Right.
And then you're going to convert 1 or 2 of them. So it's a lot of conversations that don't go anywhere. A lot of, I don't know, rude people, a lot of hangups, a lot of people like, how'd you get my information? Well, you gave it somewhere and it got back
Right.
to us.
Right.
But I imagine the radio show, I would think that the quality of those leads would be much
Yes,
better.
there's some warmth there.
Well, yeah,
The people are listening to the radio show. Of course, the radio show is about real estate, because they are interested in the real estate conversation. And
yeah.
that's all you're going to do is extend that invitation for more real estate conversation. You're not going to call them up or contact them and say, hi, I'm Susan. I heard you listened to John's radio show. Do you want to buy a house? You're not going to do that. You're going to get taught how to approach that.
So they're going to train you in that. I mean, I would expect they would train you, and I would think
Ah,
most team leads
stop.
would. Nope. Oh,
You said I would expect that. Don't
don't expect.
don't expect anything. Ask.
Okay,
That's why that's the key.
got it. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, with it, and it's fair. It's like, well, I should expect this. No, they're not
Yeah.
all the same. They all operate differently. And some do a lot, some don't do as much, some
Yeah.
do more, and again, it's all good. But especially if leads are what you need, and especially if you're brand new, you don't know how to follow up on a lead. And even if you're not so new, I could, if somebody was giving me leads. So for me, if I joined something and a team or a group that was providing leads from a large national, international website,
Yeah.
I have been in this business 30 years. They would have to train me on how to follow up with those leads.
Okay.
Never did it.
You never did it. Yeah.
Nope. So you would ask that question. Okay, great. That's how you provide the leads. I understand. So once we get them, or before we start getting those leads, are we trained on how to respond? Do you have a way to track those leads? Like, how do I keep track of who I'm trying to groom business from? And that would lead to, what are the tools you provide? CRM, website, any other kind of software tools. Good chance that their brokerage of the team's brokerage supplies a good bit of that, but some teams that are big enough and do well enough supply a lot of their own.
So what about like what the team provides? like technology, software, websites, like,
Yeah, you want a list. I mean, because you're sitting there in this interview, unless you're a person who's comfortable having this conversation with the team lead and you can take notes,
yeah,
which is okay. That would be me, but not everybody is. Say, how do I know, you know, how do I know what tools and what softwares you would like me to work with or that I'm being given? I know I've heard out there I need a CRM. Do you provide a CRM? I know I need a website. Do you provide a website? Um, and they might say yes, no, or this is what we recommend. Chances are, again, either they themselves are going to provide certain things or their brokerage is, and they'll tell you, well, we don't do that, but the brokerage does, and it's $29 a month.
got it. Now, what about like is there in regards to technology, is there anything like what are some red flags? Like as a technology company myself,
Right.
I I hear stories of agents who've gone to work for teams
Mm-hmm.
and then left, and
Mm-hmm.
it hasn't been a good transition out.
Ah,
So I think that's a product of expectations that weren't set in the beginning, or questions like you said that weren't asked in the beginning. Like
right.
the agent who came on board with the team didn't fully understand. Um, so and I've worked with agents that have been on the backside of that experience. So what are there red flags that an agent
Yep.
might look for?
Big time. So
So what
two
do you what
things.
yeah, what do you got there?
Yeah. So two things at the end of this video, we're going to give you an opportunity to enter your email address or your phone number, however you want us to contact you. I'll direct message you. I don't care. I don't use WhatsApp, so don't even bother. Um, and we're going to offer you, if you want, I have a document of all the things to ask and all the things are red flags. That's exactly what I have to send somebody. What I have to send somebody. So, because there's a lot, and there's,
Well,
and if
what are like the top, I don't know, two or three red flags?
red flags,
Yeah. And
if they
anything specific to technology.
if they don't have a website,
Yeah.
we don't need one. Really? Do you have an identity? I mean, if you have a team, you have a name, you should at least have a name and logo and have an identity of your team within that brokerage.
Yeah.
I mean, you should have, because a team is like a little mini company within inside of a brokerage. So you don't have a website, you don't have a logo, you don't
Is
have
that
your own
Are there
brand,
teams like that?
huh?
Are there teams really like that that
Oh my
don't?
God, yes. Mhm.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
That's surprising. Holy
So
cow. All right.
some,
Yeah. Stay away from,
sometimes teams get so caught up, I don't know if that's quite the right word, but in producing. Nothing wrong with production. That's what you're there for.
right, right.
But there's working in your business and working on your business. Whether you're a single agent like myself or you're part of a 15-person team, somebody on that team, whether it be the team lead or somebody on that team, better be working on the business
Yeah.
and get diving into Fiverr and get yourself a logo and make a cool name and go reach out to you and get a website and you know how to make flyers, and somebody's got to be doing that stuff because your identity of that team within that brokerage is your identity. Because with a team, now there might be a team that says, oh, we let you do your own. Well, if that was the case, you'd be doing it on your own now, right? I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I guess I've heard things like, some teams make you use their website. Some teams are okay with you using your own website
Yeah.
and referencing them on your website.
Yep.
Same thing with a CRM. I
Yep.
know that like your database is, what do you do with that? Like you have your own personal database when you join a team, or you like, how does that get handled? Or like, do
A
you
re-
know
it,
that's,
a well-run team
yeah,
have a database system. It doesn't mean it's their they're necessarily their full, they're just their CRM. But whatever their lead system is, the team lead or some top tier person in that team is the one who feeds out from that software the leads to the agents, and it's tracked that way, because
Okay.
that's the only way that good team leader is going to be able to track who's following up with what, who's getting what, who's dropping the ball, which ones are closing, which sources are better. It's very sophisticated.
Yeah.
If they do it
What,
with spreadsheets, great. I mean, that's their thing, but they better have something that works really well.
right. Well, what about an agent who comes to a team, but they have their sphere? Like
Your
how does that typically get handled?
biggest
Or,
red flag,
yeah.
biggest number one red flag on the top of the list is the contract.
Okay.
The
I knew we'd
contract,
get to something number one. Like I knew we were gonna get
it is
there.
it is the number one red flag that if they say, we'll show it to you later, or maybe they're, or yeah, they need to show you it. They need to show you the terms. They need to show you exactly how your own church, people that you list their home from your own church group, are going to be handled. Is the team lead still get a cut of that? There's a lot of them that do. They get,
Yeah.
like, say, if it's their lead, you get 50%. If it's your own lead, you get to keep 80. You need to know that. What happens if you buy a home yourself? What if it's your sister that buys the home or sells the home? And the other number two thing, so those are all super important. And if you leave, or when you leave, what
Yeah.
happens to everything you have in the pipeline or all the leads that you've been working? Because that was a very consistent problem that I saw a lot when I was a managing broker. It was gray. And then the agent leaves, like, well, that's mine. No, that's mine. Well, I'm getting this percent. No, we're keeping this percent. So the contract matters a lot.
So make sure you have it in writing up front what the deal is.
And I would have someone look at it. So you have to hire an attorney to look at it. Although it's what your broker's going to tell you. Have someone who's been in the business a while take a look at it so that the key pieces are in that contract.
Okay. So yeah, because some of the stories I've heard good and bad stories. And
Yeah.
I've heard I was able to close my own transactions and I had to pay a little bit into the team, which to me makes sense because you have a transaction coordinators and you have team resources that are involved in closing that business.
Yep.
So I could bring my own stuff in. And then I've heard, I can't bring, like, I can't have my own, I guess can I have my own CRM to track my own people?
Right.
Can I have my own website to has my own branding? And I've heard it both ways. Yes, you can have your own stuff, and no, you can't. You have to use ours, which for an agent who's on their own, if you've been around a little while and you're going to go join a team, you may have a book of business that you want to
You may.
keep track that you keep, right? Quote unquote.
Sure.
So I think that would have to be all negotiated and dealt with up front.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a real sophisticated choice you have to make. And if the team lead you're interviewing with is being super loosey-goosey about a lot of it, I don't know as the you're gonna get the answers you need. If they're like, oh yeah, that's fine. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, you can do it. Oh, that's fine. Like, because
Mm,
there's more to it than that. It's like, okay, well, if I
right.
have my own website and I get leads through my website and not through so there's everything's going to lead to more questions on, well, what does that mean? And if they're,
Yeah.
oh, that's fine. Oh, that's fine. We'll give you those.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. No, I've heard this phrase, I'm sure you've heard it. Money has a short memory.
Yes. So do agents, money and agents.
Yeah. Ages have a short memory. Yeah. So, the thing I get asked about in running iFoundAgent, because we do websites and CRM and we have an IDX
Mhm.
uh, but what I get asked about is, or when agents will say, what do you think about teams? And I very much say what you're saying. And then, well, should I get, what about my website or, having my own system? I said, well, one question to ask them is, can I have an independent system that I don't lose track of my own sphere?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I've been in iFoundAgent, since 2010. I've been
Mm-hmm.
doing it a while. And I've had our customers go to Teams and come back,
Mm-hmm.
go to Teams and stay there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've had them both. And it's kind of like how iFoundAgent, works with agents is, they're independent of any company. We are independent of any company
Right.
where, you work for XYZ company on the top of your website or somewhere on your website, you have that you're with that brokerage. And then you're there 3 to 5 years, whatever long you're there, 10 years, and then you move. For
Yeah.
us, you just let us know. We change the broker's identifying information, whatever we have to change per the MLS that you're involved in,
Yep.
and boom, you don't lose a step. You keep going. So we know divorces happen in real estate. That's,
Yep.
we have a thing about,
Exactly.
teams, teams divorce, members divorce out of it. So I think that the big decision or the one of the big thoughts is if I leave, how much starting over do I really have to do?
Mm-hmm.
Do I sell my soul and go all in, knowing that maybe someday I have to start over if I leave? I think you have to really be careful about that or consider it really. For a new agent, yeah, not necessarily the same thing.
Right.
But the new agent has friends, family, people they know
Yeah.
that they're going to meet independent of leads that come from the team
Yep.
that they got to be concerned about. So you definitely
Right.
have to negotiate that.
But that's also not just a team question, that's a brokerage question as well. So that's
Broker,
both. Because
got it.
what if the brokerage has certain broker policies and you haven't looked through that because they all do. Whether they're in a binder or online, probably online these days. So there's that. And then there's the team's policies and how they practice. So you're
Yeah,
under two layers there. What if the team says, oh, we're fine. We don't, like you read through their contract and you can keep everything that's yours and it makes sense. What if the brokerage isn't set up like that? Now, granted, none of the larger brokerages are set up like that, but there's hundreds of brokerages out there that have 100 or less people or 70 or less people that have teams within them. So yeah, it gets to be a lot to research.
I
And
mean,
it helps to have somebody you can lean on to ask those questions. That's the big thing.
we're in Arizona, and I know that I don't know what the laws are in other states, and
Either.
but in Arizona, the broker technically owns
Mhm.
the customer.
Correct.
No matter where they come from. The
Correct.
broker, so I guess that gives the right to the broker to
Yeah.
market them after a transaction.
It does. But I will say that most brokerages will not do that.
Okay, so an agent doesn't necessarily have to worry about that.
No. Now
Yeah,
the brokerage, although again, the big ones are very much take what you have going on and take it with you, and they
yeah,
cooperate with each other as far as moving the things that need to be moved. But your brokerage may keep anything you have under contract, which is under an employment contract, a listing or a buyer broker contract. Those two contracts, along with the purchase, well, it's the employment contract, excuse me, that actually belong to the brokerage. It's the deals. The people
right.
don't, the deals do. So if you've got 4 employment contracts going, you got to find out they'll never belong to the team over the brokerage, but the brokerage can trump over the team. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think as an agent looking to join a team and a new broker, if that's what they're going to,
Yeah.
they I think you're right. They need to really make sure they know what happens with transactions post closing, or I've heard it of the database itself in the CRM becomes the property of the team,
Yeah, absolutely.
and people walk away with nothing. And to
Yep.
me, that's you got to make sure that that doesn't happen, because it
Yep.
yeah, we I don't know, 10 years ago we were working with somebody, and I've had other stories, but this person came to us in tears
Oh
because they
God.
lost their whole database. They couldn't get it. They weren't allowed to have it. And it was their friends and family in this database.
Yeah.
And the team took it from them. So I don't imagine there's a lot of teams like that, but you do
Hope
have to
not.
be careful. Maybe there are. Hopefully there's not. But like, sorry, that's my parents, in that database. You
Yeah.
can't market them, or it's not okay that you market them. But I don't know that.
There
But
are
yeah,
some mega teams out there. I could rattle off a bunch of them.
yeah,
And I know agents that work for them, and I know some of the team leads, and I like them. They're great people, and they're super heavy producers. And they've been through the ropes enough to know what's a crappy thing to do and what isn't. You
yeah,
know, it doesn't mean that they're going to let you just walk away with all your business, but they're certainly going to let you walk away with family, things like that, and self deals and stuff like that. Like, they're not there to be jerks, but they're also team dynamics. Again, people join, they quit, they don't like these people. You getting into one and you think you're going to
right.
like it, and then you find out you don't. That's constant within teams and brokerages. Um, so the team's got to protect itself from not wasting time and money on somebody for 6 months, and then all of a sudden they bail, and it's like, oh dude, you had 3 escrows with us that we would have made some money on, and 2 of them are with your brother, and one's just a lead or something like that. That's where I've seen arguments come in. Like,
Okay.
this is the only money the team was going to make. So, at that point, it's sitting down with the broker or the managing broker of that company and going, you got to decide, because ultimately they do. It's their
Right.
business.
Yeah. All right. So any other red flags or anything that comes to mind that we need to cover on this call?
I would say reach out to me and I will provide you with my document. And it's probably the best way to look for the red flags. Trust your gut and trust somebody. Know somebody. If you don't know anyone, try to reach out to the office manager, see how supportive and how helpful they are. They're not
Yeah.
going to sit there and say to you, this is a bad team and this is a good team, and neither am I. Um, but at the same time, they should be able to provide you with hopefully some of the things that I'm going to provide you with. But maybe that's not, and that's okay. And where does that leave you? And those are just a few of the conversations that you need to have. And it's not just like thinking about joining. Oh, here's your team. I'll email you our contract. Take a look at it. Let me know if you have questions. No,
Run.
or
Run or
you know,
ask your questions. Yeah.
yeah, email me with what you're looking for. Okay,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. I mean, it might start off a little bit that way just so the team can be like, if you're, and the team may be the type who looks for people who are very, very hungry and very aggressive. Great. That may not be your style.
Yeah.
I can't speak to that. You may have a full-time job and you're going to do this part-time. And the hardest thing across the board for every person that goes to look at teams that they have to swallow is that they are likely going to only get to keep about half of the commission per deal. Some
Okay.
might be at 40. I haven't seen a 30 in a long time, not saying they're out there. Or I should say a 50, a 60, a 70. I haven't seen a 70. I'm not saying they're not out there, especially for higher producers. But if you're joining a team and have never closed a deal or closed 2 a year, you're going to be looking at half. And you know what? What's half equal to nothing, compared to nothing?
Right. A half is better than nothing.
And look to see what's covered in that half. In that half that you're giving back to your team lead, is it cover does it cover what fees your brokerage charge? Does it cover your TC, all your transaction management stuff? Does it cover the cost of of um of your software that you're going to need to use? Another thing is how do they network with each other? Do you guys meet once a week? Do you do Zoom calls once a week? Are there open house opportunities? Because that's a really great way for newer agents to get business if you are willing to do it, which are crazy if you're not. You're looking at this is against the Arizona Department of Real Estate rules, but I'm going to say it anyway. Look at it as a little mini brokerage inside of a brokerage. It's not legally, it's not, but it kind of is.
Every once in a while, I hear of an experienced agent who has a book that goes to a team. Now, it seems like they would go because of the staff support they're going to get. Do you have a sense of why an experienced agent would go to a team?
I suppose one reason could be if they're actually looking to downstep their workload a little bit.
Yeah.
They don't want to just make referrals, right? Because referrals, you get 20-25% of a deal.
Yeah.
Ish. And then
you're not necessarily involved either.
No, that's true. I mean, by law, by real estate law, by this Arizona law, you handle a referral, you're hands off. However, we are known to be a little bit controlling, which is absolutely fine. And if you hand that person off for that transaction, you just lost them for good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or unless the person you hand them off to really sucks, then you just turned into a bad guy. So if you still want to be involved in the transaction, but you want to do less work, that would be a reason. And you could talk to the team lead. It's like, look, I really don't want to, I want to give away work on the deals that I'm going to do because for whatever reason, you're getting older, you're just doing other things, whatever. That's a reason. I don't know. It depends on, I guess, how
that often, but every once in a while I get one of of our customers.
Yeah, I think it would depend on how
I'm like, why are you doing that?
Maybe they just want to spend time want to be more collaborative. That's one thing that being a loan agent is not conducive to is being collaborative.
I think we've hit teams pretty good. I don't know that, is there anything else we need to chat about in this, or just put a wrap on what we're talking about for teams today?
Yeah, no, I think we've touched on the team thing again. I think every new agent should start with a team.